Hi, Dan here. So what happens if you get fired mid-cruise somewhere in the middle of the ocean? Are they gonna call for a helicopter to come and take you off the ship? Are they gonna put you in a lifeboat and cast you away? Let's talk about it. Sometimes some people ask me, hey, what would happen if a crew member gets fired in the middle of the ocean? How is the cruise line gonna handle that? Is the crew member on holiday until the next port? What happens when you get fired on cruise ships? Right? I mean, there's two ways of getting fired. There's what I would call a soft dismissal and a hard dismissal. A soft dismissal is you've been proven to be incompetent, you have some performance issues, you have been given several verbal warnings, so that's a soft dismissal. So what will happen is they will let you finish your contract, but they will not rehire you. You have been let go, but technically you haven't been fired. They have simply not rehired you. And that's why I think most cruise lines, in fact almost all cruise lines, will hire you on a contractual basis, rotation by rotation. Meaning, you come on a cruise ship, in this case as a bartender, and you've been maybe working in that position as a bartender for a particular cruise line for 4 years. But it's never been a continuous contract, right? You don't get any paid leave. You come on board, having signed a new contract. At the end of your 6 months, it's an end of contract and you go home. You don't get paid when you're at home. There is an understanding that you're gonna take a 2 months break from the cruise ship and come back after 2 months. They've already assigned you a new ship. You already know where you're going next. You already have your plane tickets and everything. But as you're coming back, you need to sign a new contract. And it goes on for as long as you're on board. Contract by contract. Every time you come on board, you sign a new contract. And that does two things. Firstly, in terms of labor laws, they are not required to pay you when you go home on air quotes vacation, because it's never truly a vacation, right? You're not getting an income. So they don't have to pay you when you are not on board, when you're not working. And they don't have to give you any benefits. They don't have to give you any pension. They don't have to give you any medical or dental benefits when you're at home. None of that, because you're a contractor. Your contract has ended. You're no longer part of the cruise line. You come in, sign a contract. 6 months later, end of contract, you go home, and you come back, you have to sign a new contract. So every time you come back on board, you sign a new contract. So that's the first point. And then secondly, the beauty of this for cruise lines is that if they're not happy, if your manager is not happy with your performance, or with you as a human being, they can just decide not to rehire you. So technically you haven't been fired, you just haven't been rehired. So you can't even begin to sue to say that I've been unfairly dismissed, because you haven't been technically dismissed. You simply have not been rehired. And the cruise line has no obligation to offer you a new contract. So that's a soft dismissal. They gently offload you. Now for a hard dismissal, A hard dismissal is when you are actually getting terminated.
You are terminated!
Terminated? No! No! It wasn't my fault, sir! It was Needles! Needles was behind the whole
And you
thing!
cooperated!
No, I didn't! It was a
illegal.
sting
And
operation!
you
I
knew.
was setting them up!
Read my
No!
facts!
Please, no, I cannot be fired! I'm fired! Ah!
And the procedure there, I mean, usually what leads to that is repeated performance issues, incompetence, negligence, lack of skills, lack of technical skills, lack of knowledge about your job description, physical assault, repeated sexual harassment, insulting other crew members or passengers, theft, malicious damage to property, stuff like that will get you dismissed. And of course, alcohol intoxication. Those things will lead you to a hard dismissal, a termination. And then they will not wait for your contract to come to term, to finish. You will be fired there and then.
You're fired!
So you actually get fired. And you'll get fired. Terminated. And what's the procedure there? And that I think comes to question, the ship is in the middle of the ocean, somewhere going from Australia to the US, let's say Sydney to Seattle, and this crew member has been involved in a case of physical assault, right? Too much to drink in the crew bar, an altercation ensued, blows were exchanged, and now the crew member is terminated. So in that case, what will happen is there will be a quick disciplinary committee involving HR, the captain, the staff captain, your managers, the hotel director, and you'll be dismissed, of course, And once the decision has been taken, if the ship is in the middle of the ocean, meaning if the ship has left Sydney already on its way to Seattle, at the next available port, you will be offloaded. So the ship has already gone to New Caledonia, Vanuatu, Fiji, Indonesia, Bali, Thailand. And now the next port is now a long crossing to Hawaii, and the next port is Honolulu. As soon as the ship arrives in Honolulu, you will be offloaded. Meaning while the ship is on its way there, arrangements are being made for flight tickets and all that stuff. As the ship arrives in Honolulu, you will be escorted off the ship to the airport and sent back to your hometown. So that's the logistics in terms of getting you off the ship. It's always the next available port. It's easy when you are cruising to the Caribbean from Miami and you do those 4 or 5 days booze cruises, right? I mean, that's quite easy because there's never more than 1 sea day before reaching the next port. In fact, in most of those 4 to 7 days cruises, usually what they'll do is they'll wait for the ship to come back to home port, because the ship is back at its home port every 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So it's quite easy. All right. So if your home port is Los Angeles, and now the ship is currently in Cabo San Lucas, yes, the decision to fire you has been made in Cabo, but you will be offloaded, taken off the ship when the ship gets back to Los Angeles. if your home port is New York and the ship is currently in San Juan, and while in San Juan the decision has been taken to fire you, they will wait until the ship is back in New York to take you off the ship to the airport and back to your home city, right? It's much easier. In a case where it's a long cruise, and by long cruise I mean let's say more than 14 days, right? So 14 days, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, some cruises are 3 months. You know, so you have those cruises where the port where you sign on is not going to be the port where you sign off. So there's no home port. So it's a 3 month cruise, a 4 month cruise, starting in Dubai, cruising Southeast Asia, going to Japan, from there crossing to Hawaii, going to Hawaiian Islands for a week, and then crossing to Vancouver, then going to Alaska. So you know, it's a very long cruise going around the world. In that case, you will be dismissed. You will be taken off the ship at the next available port. If it's in Yokohama, Japan, you'll be taken off in Yokohama. If it's in Dubai, they remove you off the ship in Dubai. If it's in Vancouver, Vancouver it will be. All right. So that's for the logistics. The logistics in terms of taking you off the ship, the timing and all that stuff. But now there's also the internal timing. When are they going to tell you that you are fired? One thing that's very popular on all cruise lines is what's known by all crew members as the 6 o'clock knock. All right. So a decision has been made to terminate you because you were intoxicated and misbehaving. And so you've been fired. There's been a disciplinary committee that has decided that you should be dismissed. But the next available port is Vancouver, Canada, in 4 days. Because now you've just left Honolulu. Right? They will not tell you now that, listen, you've been dismissed in 4 days' time when you're arriving in Vancouver. Pack your bags, you're off the ship. No, because obviously the next 4 days you're gonna refuse to work. You might drink excessively, try to get back at your manager or managers, and the biggest fear is you might commit an act of sabotage towards your department or the ship. And so they will only notify you the morning of you leaving the ship. That's how all cruise lines do it. Now, just some few words about the 6 o'clock knock. And let me explain the procedure, you know. So once a decision has been taken to fire you, they won't tell you anything, you know. So let's say you were a little bit inebriated back in San Juan, you know, you had a few too many, you came back on board, and you arrived at work, you know, the breathalyzed you, and now they've decided to fire you because you were over the limit. So anyway, whatever the case might be, you know, once the decision has been taken to fire you, you won't know. You might appear in front of a disciplinary committee, but you might not. You might ask the HR director, hey, what's happening with my case? Is everything okay? Or am I in trouble? Am I gonna get fired? And the only answer you'll get is, look, we're still investigating We'll let you know when we reach the decision. So, okay. The following day, the ship is arriving in Los Angeles. You don't know because you spoke to the HR director just the day before, who told you that they're still investigating, so you won't know anything. And then as the ship arrives in Los Angeles, usually 1 hour to 30 minutes before the ship actually docks at the port, at the dockyard, security will come to your door. You open the door and they tell you, listen, you've been fired. You've got about 30 minutes to pack up and come with us. As you arrive, we take you off the ship. And from there, you're going to go straight to the airport. There's a bus waiting for you. And yeah, that's it. So imagine, you've got 30 minutes. If security is nice, they might give you 60 minutes. But usually it's fast. It's 30 minutes, pack up everything and leave. Now, understand that, when a crew member pack up to go home, on average it takes about 2 days. You've been on that ship for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months or more. You might even buy an extra pair of luggage, to put all the new stuff that you bought, souvenirs and stuff, and do your laundry the night before and all that stuff. So you can imagine the shock when security knocks at your door and tells you that, listen, you've got about 30 minutes, pack up now, come with us, you're fired, you're leaving the ship right now. You might have some stuff at the laundry and you might tell security, oh no, listen, I've got, I'm doing my laundry right now, I'm still in the washing cycle, it's gonna take another 35 minutes, and then I have to dry that stuff for another 45 minutes. I said, no. You go in there, you take everything, take what you can, whether it's wet or whatever, we don't care. Put it in your bags, in your luggage, and let's go, and if you can't do that, leave it there. You're fired. Maybe you've lent some stuff to a friend, or maybe you borrowed some things from a friend, and it's just confusion. You don't know what to do. You pack up as much as you can, gangway, and bye-bye. And I just feel that it's very, very harsh. Look, listen. At least they should give you 3 hours. So, as they give you that 6 o'clock knock, from that point on, the door is open, security is not leaving you. So you're packing your stuff, security is at the door with you. And you can imagine, for most crew members, it's really shocking. There's some cases where that you're getting fired because you've been working in the cruise ship industry for some years, for some time, and you know what's going on. You had an altercation with your manager, with your colleague, and you're getting fired. Right? But in cases where it's a gray area, you really don't know. You might even think that you've done nothing wrong, and perhaps you've done nothing wrong, and it could just be a misunderstanding between you and your manager. I've seen people getting fired because they were in disagreement with their manager. And sometimes they had positive suggestions, but the manager was just so defensive and said, no, I want this person out, and you're out. And look, I could go on and on and on. This is to say that these 6 o'clock things could be done, this 6 o'clock procedure could be done in a more humane way, with respect, with dignity, I understand when you work in an office on land, it's easier because security can just come to your desk, tell you, listen, you're being fired, take your box, put all your stuff in your box, then you take that walk of shame and you're out the door. But on a cruise ship, it's not just your working environment, but it's where you live. You've got your room, you've got your belongings, you've got your clothes, you've got stuff, all your belongings, you know, that you're supposed to live with for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And so to give you 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes to pack up and disappear, it's not okay. Cheers.
Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video till the end. If you've liked this video, please leave me a like. If you have any comments, leave a comment. If you have any questions, leave a question. I'll answer you. Don't forget to subscribe. My goal is to now get to 600 subscribers by the end of the month. Around the United States, it doesn't give me anything additional or takes anything from my qualifications. I will interview when I know I'm working on it. Now, sending videos in a hotel, right? Because this has been in my mind for a long time, working in the Navy. But I understand the large amount of this war degrading the crew and stuff. You go on a cruise ship every year.